Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Turning Two Tunes. My name is Hannah Martin, and I am your host of the very best country music and baseball talk show around. How are you guys this weekend? I was off last weekend. That was just last weekend, right? Oh my goodness. It's like the weeks fly by, but when you're living in them, it's like they never end. So I was off last week. Pretty sure it was last week. So it's been a couple weeks since I've been on the air. I know you missed me talking about baseball and the Red Sox. Very sad. Today, you guessed it, we're back and we're talking about the Red Sox because you might not have noticed, but they signed this guy named JD Martinez. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Mariners because I love the Mariners. Yeah. We're going to talk about this like weird diagram thing I made. I was in ethics class the other day. I love ethics class. It's great. But, I was doing a little thinking in that class, and I came up with this, like, weird diagram, and it was basically me, like, working out which teams have a chance at making the playoffs and which teams are going to be in the playoffs and which teams are going to be out. So there's, like, 3 categories. And you want to know where the Mariners are. And I'm going to tell you. And you're going to be happy with the answer, probably. But you got to stick around for that. Today, it's going to be great. We're talking spring training, Mariners, everything. If you want to call in at any point in the show to talk to me, 509-335-2207. The best time to call in is when I'm playing music, so I can get your call right away. All right, guys. We are going to start off today with a little Steve Moakler, who is a station favorite. So here we go. Right, y'all. We are back. Hope you enjoyed those songs. We had some station favorites in there. So now we're going to talk about JD Martinez and the Boston Red Sox because JD Martinez just signed with the Boston Red Sox. It's one of the biggest trades of the last few weeks or so. And so the deal was it was a 5-year deal, $110 million. And I wrote about this I wrote about this deal on The Odyssey, which I'm a writer for, which is like an opinion-based newspaper. So it's through my university here at Wazoo. And so he signed. I am very happy about this trade because, as you know, if you have listened any time in the past, since literally the Red Sox lost to the Astros in the DS last year. So since October, I have been harping on this team because I know they're listening in to sign somebody who is a big impact bat. And it was obvious to me that throughout all of last season, including the postseason, that they really needed a big offensive player. And to their credit, they tried some things. They said, okay, David Ortiz retires. We're going to try this combination of Hanley Ramirez and Mitch Moreland, who they went out and signed. Andrew Benintendi is going to step up, Mookie Betts, and it's going to be fine. And it wasn't fine. So I was like, okay, you tried this one year. It obviously didn't work. You look at the teams, you look at the Astros lineup, you look at the Yankees lineup, Jesus, and you say to yourself, okay, this isn't cutting it. We need to go out. We need to get an impact bat. And for the longest time, the Red Sox weren't signing anybody. You heard all these rumors about how them and JD Martinez were locked in trade discussions, and it wasn't looking good. Eric Hosmer went and signed with the Padres, so he was out. But it was really JD Martinez who the Red Sox were focusing on. The problem was that JD Martinez was asking for, I heard, 8 years and $210 or $250 million. And the Red Sox were like, hey, we've learned our lessons from Pablo Sandoval, Hanley Ramirez, and Rusney Castillo. We're not giving you 8 years, $50 million. And I was like, ooh, I was hoping, I was like, I really want this impact bat. But the rational side of my brain is like, do not sign this guy to any more than 6 years because you will regret it. The Red Sox, they come out and they totally blow me away with this great deal that they signed JD Martinez to. 5 years, $110 million. I love the deal. I love literally everything about it. There have been some like think pieces floating around and some like hot takes on how JD Martinez is not gonna, his defense is a problem. First of all, he's mostly gonna be DHing, and if he does see time, I really, really doubt it's going to be in that outfield, because you have Benny, who, you're not going to bench Benny. You have JBJ, and then you have Mookie. And none of those guys, you're not going to bench those guys so you can play JD Martinez. If anything, I think we might see him at first. I know the Red Sox signed Mitch Moreland, and they have Hanley Ramirez floating around, but it's kind of like you have all these pieces, and it's kind of like where do they fit, because there isn't room. But I do think we're going to see a lot of platoons. We're going to see platoons with first base and DH, obviously with JD Martinez getting the bulk of the time there. So the defense, it doesn't really matter to me. At first base, sure, but you had, Hanley there a couple years ago, and he did a fine job there. First base defense really isn't, I don't want to say it's not important, because it is important. Obviously, this is the major leagues, but it's not, say, as important as third base, or as important as, a really good defensive center fielder or something like that. And so they're going to make it work. They're going to find spots to get JD Martinez every day at bats. The question is, where do Hanley Ramirez and Mitch Moreland fit into this? Is it a situation where JD Martinez sees most of the at-bats in DH, and you see a more, maybe like a 60-40 platoon with Moreland getting the bulk of the time at first and Hanley getting that other 40%? Do you see Hanley more as a pinch hitter role? Do you see him, coming off the bench in big situations and trying to get, a big home run or a big knock somewhere? These are all valid questions. Do I have the answer? No, because I'm on the other side of the country and do not have access to Dave Dombrowski's personal phone number. But it's a good problem to have, because you have pieces now where you can fit them in, and you can say, all right, today we're going to do Martinez and Moreland, or today we're going to do Martinez and Hanley. I know Hanley doesn't want to play first base, but if he didn't want to play first base, he should have hit better last season, in my opinion, because that DH spot was his to lose. So they were all ready to give it to him, and then he went out and hit like 250 last season, which is not cutting it. So these are the questions that the Red Sox have to ask themselves. I don't see JD Martinez seeing a lot of time in the outfield. I see him more in that DH first base, platoon role, where obviously if he's a DH, you don't have to worry about his defense. But it's not. The defense. We're not going to sweat about JD Martinez's defense when he's probably going to see most of his ABs as a DH. So, not worried about that. Write your think pieces about something else. I love this trade. I just keep, talking about how much I love this trade, because the Red Sox were originally at 6 years, $125 million, and they came down to 5 years, $110 million. I love this trade. That's really all there is. I just love this trade a lot, and I think it's really going to help the Red Sox get over that hump that they were looking at. And I think last year, I think kind of some of the discrepancies here, and, you could say this is just me wishful thinking as a Red Sox fan, whatever, say what you want. But the Red Sox their players had a lot of down years. You saw Mookie Betts and Benny and Hanley and Mitch Moreland and all those guys kind of have down years, and not kind of, they had down years. And Yankee players, on the other hand, had great years. Those guys had career years, and so I think the Yankees are going to get a little. You're not going to see quite as much offensive output, and the Red Sox are going to get a little better. Because the, math, me out here, sport management major, talking about math, but it's kind of logic that all these guys aren't going to have down years and all these guys aren't going to have career years again. And it's going to kind of more even out the playing field. Obviously, Stanton is going to make the Yankees much better. I did see some tweet the other day about how he doesn't have great numbers against AL teams, which I do think is interesting, but, whatever. Obviously, he played for the Marlins, and that's an NL team, so, doesn't have as much experience against the AL team. And it is different playing on an AL team than it is playing on an NL team. That's just, there are, the NL teams are more They play more small ball, don't hit as many home runs. And AL teams are more aggressive, I would say, and do hit more home runs and that sort of thing. Obviously, in the NL, you have your pitchers hit, and there's the DH in the American League, so you do see more offense in the American League. But there are some differences, so I think that's important to take into account, Yankee fans. But I think it's going to be a really, really exciting year. I actually started crying like the other night because I was talking to one of my friends about like how much good baseball I'm going to get to see this year, not just between like the Red Sox and the Yankees, but like, you know, the Astros are really good. The Twins are getting better. Like all of these teams who are just going to, you know, come out swinging for the fences. And I was like, it's going to be great for me, a baseball fan. And it's going to be great for you too, baseball fans. Unless you like the Tigers or somebody, then it's like a terrible year. But if you just like baseball in general and you like to see good baseball, this is going to be a great season for you and for me. So I'm super excited about that. What else did I want to talk about? Yes, the Red Sox. So the Red Sox also, they re-signed Eduardo Nunez. And so this kind of also raises a question of what is the left side of the infield going to look like? They have Rafael Devers, who they brought up last season and did great for them. He's going to start at third base. They've worked on his defense. That was really the only question. But, you know, he was this, top prospect, really great bat. So he's going to help out on the offensive side. But don't put, as a young guy coming up for his first full season, don't put all your eggs in that basket. Destin Pedroia obviously going to man second base. There are some questions, though. His knee, I know he had knee surgery, so kind of like the when he's going to come back. But then with Nunez kind of coming in and being this super utility guy, you also have to remember that there is Brock Holt as this also super utility guy. He was out last season because he had this ongoing concussion that turned into vertigo, and it was like a terrible season for him, and I felt so bad for him, and I was like, man, but he's going to come back, and he can do great things for you. I think this really is going to speak to, I think one of the most overlooked things in baseball is having a good, deep bench. And I really, really think that is one of the Red Sox strengths that hasn't been talked about enough, is how deep and strong their bench is going to be. When you look at guys like Brock Holt, Hanley Ramirez, Eduardo Nunez, at any given time, you're going to have these guys on your bench and ready to go out and, be a defensive replacement or get you a big hit or something like that. Eduardo Nunez was so good at that last season. And so I think maybe even more than the Yankees, the Red Sox have this good, deep bench of players, which they have been lacking in years past. They also have Sam Travis, who got some time at first base last season, who showed he could, and he's having a good spring, who showed he can hit. So he'll be on there too. Like, don't underestimate the Red Sox, because even I have a tendency to underestimate this team and say this team is, a bad team. And that's just me, wanting to yell at this team and find flaws. But I honestly think the Red Sox and the Yankees are neck and neck at this point. And that's what I've been hearing a lot too, is people who are saying, the initial instinct is to say, oh, wow, look at the Yankees. They have Stanton, Judge, and Gary Sanchez. Wow. Don't count the Red Sox out of this. We're going to see good baseball regardless. And the rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox, it's back. And I'm really excited for it. I want to hear your thoughts. 509-335-2207. When we come back, we are actually going to jump ahead to the 2019 season. We're going to talk about Manny Machado. We're going to talk about Bryce Harper. And we're going to talk about where they're going to land, how much they're going to land for, and if the Yankees are going to be able to kind of produce this super team that they're thinking about. Here we go. Y'all know what that sound means. It means we have our first caller of the day. Let's see who we got on the line. It's a big surprise. Anna Somerville, are you there? Hello? You sound very far away. Hold on one second.
It could be.
There you go. I got it. I had to press the button again.
Good.
I can't,
you silly goose.
I've been in here for how many months, and I still don't know how to work the phone lines. How are you, Anna?
Yeah, that's nice. I'm great. I'm, living through that pre-spring break mad rush to finish all things academic.
Right.
As I'm sure the other listeners know about.
I have a Spanish test tomorrow. Really haven't studied for, but woo!
Oh, yeah.
My finance class was canceled this week, so I don't have that all week.
All week?
All week.
How often does it meet?
Just 2 times a week. It's a Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh,
but
wait, what time is that?
That's the class that's my 10:30.
Oh.
I know. It's very exciting.
You don't have a class before that?
No, but I have work. So I still got to get up for
darn.
work. That's
Work
okay.
hard, play hard. Am I right?
It's this is the truth. It's okay because I do love my work. It's my internship that I have with athletics marketing, and the people there are great, and I have learned so much this year. So
100%.
I mean,
you talk about that all the time.
if I said I didn't mind getting up at 8 a.m. to go to work, I'd be lying. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Gotta go. Gotta get the job done. But I finished, as you know, I coached second and third grade boys basketball, and I had practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's over. So my Tuesdays and Thursdays are looking great for the rest of the year. I mean, except until I, find something else to busy myself with.
Right, exactly. You busy bee.
This is the tea. Let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to tell the listeners, today at 5 o'clock in the Cubs Senior Ballroom, there is the ASWSU General Election Debate, and that's for the executive ticket, so the president and the vice president. There will be Savannah Rogers and Tyler Partram will be debating Harald Hilseth and Devin Holsey. And so all the listeners, I'll be there. Anna will be there. But you guys should go and definitely educate yourselves on who is running and the platforms and who you should vote for, because voting opens tomorrow. And while we're on the air, I'm not sure if I can endorse candidates, so that's why I'm staying neutral on that. But I can talk about myself because no one's running against me. I'm running for College of Education senator. So if you're listening and you're in the College of Education, my name is Hannah Martin. You listen to the show. I'd love to represent you. So you can vote for me as well. But yes, voting.
Wait, keep going.
Voting opens tomorrow and it closes on Tuesday. So wait. Voting opens Tuesday and closes Wednesday. I'm an idiot. It's a 6 in the 7.
Yeah.
So make sure
represent you.
So make sure to get your votes in on that and come to the general election debate tonight, because being active in your democracy, whether that be on a national level, a local level, or a school level, is super important. So I'll see you there.
It's important to be educated about your candidates too. Exactly. That is so important.
And especially because
voting your conscience is so important.
Yes.
So just educate yourself about who your potential candidates are, or who your candidates are, and then vote based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's great. I wanted to get that plug in.
You gotta.
Because I was like, everyone should go. Also, Lady Bird is showing tonight at 7 o'clock in the Cub, and me and Anna will be there too. So we got a busy night.
If you want to come sit at least 3 seats away from me because I don't like talking to people, feel free.
Also, if you talk during movies, don't show up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't talk to me. You can sit next to me if you don't want to talk. That's totally cool. But if you want to talk, sit at least 3 sits away from me, or don't come at all because it's a movie.
What was the movie? We went and saw The Shape of Water with some of our friends, and there was this guy who was talking so loudly. And I was like, and this was a movie at the Pullman Theater, so we had paid to get into this one because the ones on campus are free. So it's one thing if you're, talking. I paid $11 to get into this movie, and I was like, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave if you don't shut up.
So I'm sorry, that's at least 3 meals, That's $11.
I know.
I did not eat this entire day to go see this movie, and you're going to talk during it? Yep. Come on.
Exactly.
I was ready to fight him. And he stopped talking. He stopped talking pretty quick. But, yeah. My favorite thing about movie theaters is, and this is kind of illegal, so this is not Anna Somerville talking, sneaking food into them. Mm-hmm. That is one of my special talents, I would say. I'm pretty good at that. I snuck a whole pizza box into a theater once. Nobody batted an eye. And it wasn't like I'm from Port Orchard. So our theater is kind of small town, and nobody really cares if you sneak into movies and stuff like that. But this theater is in an uppity town, and there are people who actually check your tickets, and people who are in uniforms and just kind of standing around the theater to make sure nothing fishy's happening. And I snuck a pizza box in there, and that was probably one of the best days of my life because,
Queen. You wanted to talk about something else. Why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners what it was that you called in to originally talk about besides sneaking pizza into movie theaters?
So baseball, no, I'm kidding. I don't know that much about baseball. I don't know much about football either. I just know that I love it, and one of the main reasons why I love Cougar football is because of, you guessed it, you love him. His name's Luke Falk.
Right.
He's our QB. He was our QB.
Still is.
Still is. Will always be in our hearts. He was just at the NFL Combine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing a good job. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, Luke Falk is always getting hurt, which is true. And he has a hero complex, which is also true.
Right.
And he's not going to get drafted, which is false.
Right.
Because this is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to get drafted by probably a pretty darn good team.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just teach him how to be less hero complex-y. You know what I'm saying?
So here is what one of our mutual friends who likes the Packers, who has a similar name as us.
Be?
I don't know. She was talking about this, and she was like, well, here's what I hope. Because she, big Packers fan. And what the Packers did is they had, Brett Favre for a lot of years. And they had this guy named Aaron Rodgers, who wasn't that good to start out with. But he came under the wing of Brett Favre, and Brett Favre really, taught him the game and really, how to be a really great NFL quarterback. And I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers now. Arguably the best quarterback in football. So our friend was saying, hey, I hope that happens with Luke Falk, where when Aaron Rodgers decides it's time to, put up the cleats, Luke Falk is there to become the next Green Bay Packer great quarterback, which I agree with. I think that'd be great. I'd love to see Luke in green and gold.
I think that would be awesome, too. And as much, and I hate myself for saying this, as much as I dislike the Packers,
what?
And I dislike Tom Brady.
You said the Packers, Anna.
Sorry, pardon me, not the Packers. I'm so sorry. The Patriots.
It's just Anna hates the Packers.
Yeah, God. Slow pack slow. Am I right, ladies? No, as much as I dislike the Patriots,
yes,
I know that Luke Falk loves the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
His only fatal flaw, really.
Right.
And I think if he were to, go in there and take Tom Brady's place, I'd be all right with that too, because then A, it would get rid of Tom Brady, and B, it would give Luke Falk a really good team to be on. Mm-hmm. And then I could actually like the Patriots, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
You just,
I'd be...
You get rid of all the players that are on the Patriots right now, all the coaching staff, and then you just bring in a new team, and then everybody likes the Patriots.
Right, exactly.
It's just as simple as that.
Right, totally. I think just as long as it's what's best for Luke, I am all good for it. Mm-hmm. And that is how I feel. But I definitely think he's going to get drafted. I don't think the people who are saying, oh, he's not going to get drafted are right, because there's a lot of talk about him right now. So
this is the tea. I think somebody will take a chance on him, even if it's later in the draft. Like, I think somebody will take a chance on him. I
am confident in that. And I just, and it's not like he's married to that team,
Right.
It's like, I'm sure that they'll figure out they have some real talent there, and, he'll probably go to a bigger team or whatever. A more well-known or better team. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Speaking of great teams, the Seattle Mariners. We were watching 100%. The Mariners a little bit last night, and then I left the room for like 2.2 seconds, and the channel had been changed to Ratatouille. We're not going to talk about who changed the channel. But the Mariners,
oh my God.
What, do you think this is their year, Anna?
I'm just going to say it. It's a little bold.
Yes.
But I 100% think this is our year.
Yes.
It is our year. Like, that is just how the cookie's going to crumble.
Yes.
Mariners are going to win the World Series, and that is the tea.
Kyle Seager has been having a great spring. Great
Amazing
job. And we all know that if you have a great spring, it automatically translates into having a great 162 games after spring training ends, obviously.
Exactly, yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. When I was watching the Mariners for like 10 minutes before y'all changed channel on me, and because above our TV in our suite, we have this sign that I made, and it says, "It's our year." And when I was, I was watching the Mariners, and Gene Segura hit a 2-run home run, and the Mariners took the lead, and that sign was there. I felt something, Anna. I felt it.
You felt it?
I felt it.
You felt it in your heart?
I did. And I was like, this is the best team in baseball right here.
Yeah, Hannah, you're the truest to the bluest fan I've ever met, laughing as you say that. I would just like to say that Hannah is the fakest Mariners fan I've ever met.
Stop slandering me over the radio, thanks.
She's like, yeah, I love the Mariners. And I don't know, I'm sure that none of you have seen the inside of Hannah's bedroom, but I have. That sounded weird. Anyway, and let's just say that wall is freaking covered in Red Sox gear, and there is not a single piece of Mariners paraphernalia. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, on there. I was just thinking about yeah, anyway.
Oh my God. Kicks Anna off the radio.
Yeah.
But yeah,
anyway.
we're going to get to my, you remember my diagram I made in ethics the other day?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that a little later, and where I think the Mariners will end up seriously, not, joking.
What do you mean?
Joking.
What do you mean? Do you not have faith in the Mariners, Hannah? Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought, you fake fan.
You got me.
Oh, yeah.
Anna, is there anything else you'd like to talk about with our listeners?
Spring has
Spring is
sprung,
coming,
my dudes. I can feel it in the air.
Yes.
It is really happening. What else was I going to say? This is just random, but my dad and I have been trying to patent stuff. Well, we've been talking about different invention ideas. I'm not going to say any of them over the radio or in writing because I don't want anything to... Anyway, so I called him today because I had another idea late last night. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk to him about it, and so we're going to go through with that one. And then we had 3 more ideas or 2 more ideas, I can't remember. And we were talking about one of them, and then conversation ended, and I hung up the phone. And then I thought about one of the other ideas more in depth, and I realized we could totally, expand the business. And I was really excited about it. It is an idea that, could change a lot of people's lives for the better, which I'm, super pumped about. And then I called my dad back, and I was like, we could totally expand our demographic here and just, really get some change going. And then he was like, yeah, I totally agree. Once we start, going, we could totally expand. And then he looked it up on Amazon, and they already have our invention. Man. So, yeah, I'm a little upset, but we still have 2 good ones, so I'm banking on those. Anyway, the goal is to invent something and then never have to work a day in my life. So that's the plan.
Well, I totally believe in you, Anna, and I believe in you, Jim. You guys are great, very smart people, and I have the full confidence in you that you can invent something great. And I'll be the first to buy it. I'll be like, I don't care what it is. Jim and Anna Somerville invented this. I'm buying it.
Wow. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. I love talking with you about a whole bunch of stuff, really. Our conversations are always all over the board, and
they really are at all times.
It breaks up the program a little bit, and it gives us, some just a little fun
spice,
time.
Little spice in there.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Well, thank you so much,
sure.
Anna. I'll see you later.
Anytime.
And I'll also see you at the ASWSU general election debate tonight at 5 o'clock in the Cubs Senior Ballroom.
Absolutely. Come educate yourselves about the candidates. Come get to know them a little bit. Very exciting.
Important. Anna, I was going to say I'll hear from you next week, but it's spring break, so I won't hear from you next week. But
well, I'll just call you and we'll talk about baseball.
That sounds great. All right. Thank you so much, Anna.
Of course, anytime.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Goodbye. Bye. All right, folks. If you'd like to also give me a call and talk about inventions or whatever you'd like, 509-335-2207. I will say I just got this update that James Paxton, pitcher for the Mariners, was taken out after giving up 7 runs on 7 hits in just 1 2/3 of an inning. So not looking great, but it's one clunker in a spring training start. Don't read too much into it. Just wanted to update you guys. Give me a call, 509-335-2207. All right. So I was listening to the Red Sox spring training game, as one does, on a Sunday morning, casually. And the announcers were talking about something that I thought was very interesting, and that was the 2019 free agent class. Because we've seen, there have been free agents this season. You've seen, Yu Darvish go to the Cubs, JD Martinez to the Red Sox, Eric Hosmer to the Padres. But the deals and the money and the years haven't been, obviously Eric Hosmer signed for 8 years, but the money hasn't been exorbitant. Like, obviously, if we're saying $110 million isn't exorbitant. Obviously it is. But with the deals that have been set up in past free agent classes, you would have thought with this class, which is a great all-around class, perhaps the figures would have been higher. And one of those reasons why, in addition to, teams being more and more unwilling to sign long-term deals to guys on the wrong side of 30, is the 2019 class, which includes Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. And the school of thought here is that, you're not going to go out and spend all your cash on, a guy like JD Martinez when you can save your money and go out and get Bryce Harper. And originally, but I think this is going to even impact this coming class of 2019. Because I remember when Stanton signed that $325 million deal, it was my junior year of high school, and I'm a sophomore in college now. Whew, years are going by. But I remember, and people were like, when Bryce Harper, because Bryce Harper was, big even back then, Bryce Harper is going to be the first $500 million man in baseball, in all sport. But, baseball, because baseball is usually where you get the bigger contracts. He's going to sign somewhere for $500 million in 2019 in his free agent year. And I don't think that is, at that time, when you saw those huge monster contracts being handed out, sure, Bryce Harper could have signed for $500 million now. The landscape of baseball and free agency has changed. And I do not think, the announcers this morning, they were talking about 400 being the ceiling. And I think it might even be lower than that. I don't think Stanton signs, if he's a free agent, if he was a free agent next season, this season, I don't think he signs for $325 million. I think the times are changing, and these bigger contracts are going to be increasingly rarer and rarer. But then the question is, where are these guys going to land? And Manny Machado is definitely not going back to Baltimore. He has said that. The Bryce Harper perhaps is going back to Washington. I don't think so. I think he's probably going to go somewhere. The Nats' window to win is closing. This is probably going to be their last year, especially if Harper walks, just because it's been the past couple of seasons and they haven't been able to get any traction in the postseason anywhere. They are one of two teams, along with your Seattle Mariners, who have never been to a World Series, and that includes the days when they were the Expos. The question here is where are those two guys going to go? And there are other free agents who are going to be, big, but those are the two main guys in 2019. And I have heard it floated that the Yankees would try to acquire both of these guys. And first, that gives me great fear. If you're thinking about a team that consists of Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Manny Machado, and Bryce Harper, that strikes fear in me. And it should strike fear in you. Do the Yankees have, the mighty Yankees, that's a ton of money that they're going to have to go out and spend on these guys. Do I think it's possible that Manny Machado lands in New York? I do. Do I think it's possible that Bryce Harper? I don't think Bryce Harper is going to go to the Yankees. I really, really don't. The Yankees have a lot of younger, really good offensive and defensive guys in that outfield. Third base is more of a question spot for them. They do, they have the younger infield guys, but you could see Manny Machado going to that team. I do think that is a strong possibility, as much as I wish that it was not. or even as a shortstop, because he kind of goes back and forth there. He prefers one. I can't remember which one he prefers, but he likes third and short. He can play both. Bryce Harper is an outfielder. I don't think he's going to go to New York. Where would he go? There are only a handful of teams that could afford him. Probably the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, maybe a couple of other teams, but those are probably the three teams. And maybe the question is, I don't know, because if the Yankees are going to spend that money on Machado, would they be willing to spend upwards of $350 million on Bryce Harper? I think he'd be, great. He's got the big personality, perfect for New York, but I think he could, play anywhere with that big personality in a big market. I don't see Bryce Harper going to the Yankees. If they don't pick up Machado, could that change? Sure. I think it really depends on this season and where their needs are. I don't think it will be outfield. I think it will be starting pitching and then left side of the infield. And so signing Manny Machado would shore that up. But yeah, I just wanted to float some of those ideas, some things I've been hearing. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what free agency has to hold next season, especially because this was such a cold hot stove season. I do think that we're in for some fun times, though. It will not be fun if the Yankees sign both Manny Machado, Bryce Harper. That probably should be illegal in somewhere. That should, you can't have this big super team and crush everybody, but whatever. I don't see both of them landing there, but I do want to hear your thoughts on this. I know it's, we're thinking pretty far down the road, but for certain Manny Machado's going somewhere else. Bryce Harper is probably not going to stay in Washington. 509-335-2207. I'm on for about 20 more minutes, so get those calls in. Here we go.